Okay guys, let's have a little look at pound JPY.
Wait. Matron, take them away.
And a warm welcome to one and all. If this is your first time here, I'm the big fella that is the Scruffy trader. What I'm trying to do is put trading in the real world. Maybe show you a trick or two along the way. So if that sounds good, do hit that little subscribe button. It genuinely helps and keeps the channel on the air. And if you want to see future updates, turn on the notifications and drop in the description. You'll find all of my Twitter feeds and social media, that sort of thing. So with that said, let's crack on. So what are we doing? Well, each morning I look through the chart and I look for the best contender. And what I'm looking for is certain characteristics. Now in Forex, I'm looking for the strongest versus the weakest. In indices, I'm looking for strong drives. And with commodities, I'm just looking to see if it's going with the general trend of the higher time frame. So there's different bits of criteria for different products. And why? Because they move slightly different. For all I say, a chart is a chart. And it is just the speed of movement. Certain products do have different characteristics. In other words, commodities have a tendency to trend. So they are still speed of movement, but there's not a lot of this. So in that case, I just want to go with the dominant trend. Within indices, because it reacts to Forex, you know, it can spike backwards and forwards. Take the DAX for argument's sake. It doesn't matter what the dominant trend is because the pullbacks are that vicious. As long as you're going in with a neutral mindset, you can have a different direction every single day. And then Forex, it's a similar situation, but because there's so much of it, you know, there's 28 sort of decent pairs you can look at. If you're looking at all 28 in one go, you'll be there all day. So you use a set of filters, and the filtering I use is strongest versus the weakest. Why? Well, it's kind of common sense. If you've got something that's very strong and something that's very weak, there's going to be a movement. If you've got two that are of equal strength, they're not really going to do a lot. They're just going to do this. You know, you want something that's going to do that. That's kind of my theory to it anyway, and it's served me well for a very, very long time. So let's have a look and see where this comes from. Well, every morning I make this, and what I do with it is I put in quite a few different numbers that helps me work this out, and it spits out who's good, bad, indifferent. And it'll put up here a market pick. Now this is sort of driven from that, and it's looking for the strongest and weakest at the time. But the currencies that I pay attention to are these bunch, because these are the majors. And if there's something in here, I'll trade this before I'll trade that. Why? Because there's more chance these things are going to shift. So once I've had a look in here, and I think, all right, well, pound JPY, what's going on? Well, the pound's pretty strong, 38. And this is pretty weak. Then I'll have a look to see what the change of strength is. Change of strength is the pound has increased and the yen has decreased. So automatically you can kind of look at this and think, well, if the pound's stronger and it's gained ground and the yen lost ground, surely it's going up. Not quite. Think of it like a supermarket. If something is incredibly cheap, it gets bought. Whereas if something's incredibly expensive, it gets sold. So it's almost like a game of reverse. And that's kind of what we're looking at here, but I'll go into the chart a little bit and I'll explain it. But what it's telling you, it's not telling you the direction when you're looking at these boxes. It's telling you there's movement. And that's what you want. Because they are at extremes, it is movement. Okay. And then on this side, what this does is, this kind of tells me where to have a good look at. So if I'm looking at the pound JPY, it's telling me concentrate your efforts on the hourly chart, because that's where you're going to get your answers. Okay. Now I expand on this a little bit, because I take it down into the Discord that I run regular. Now the Discord, it's all fun and merriment. You know, we'll talk about our wins and losses of the day, but then we'll take it further into the actual trading, which is whether you're a swing trader, day trader, Forex trader, for argument's sake. And what I do is I'll tell them what I'm going to do before I do it. So this particular video here is what I'm about to do now. All right, so they've got a heads up of what I'm looking for. Now I've already done it this morning. If I go into the bias, you'll see that this is kind of done quite regular. So there we go. Started this for the 8 o'clock. I don't trade between 8 and 8:30, but I have been into the DAX and I'm finished with that. As you can see, they knew I was in trade, and on this one, it's now done. It's finished. All right. So they've actually got a heads up of what's going on. And also, if I go into here, there you go. So 10 past 8, before I did the trade, I told them what I was doing. So this is the second one of what I'm up to. Okay. So where does that come into this? Well, if we have a look, just sort of open that up, you can see there's the Germany trades that I've been in, done quite well. So I don't really need to get a lot out of this. I need about 50, 60 quid. And then that hits my 200 for the day, which is what I'm after. Now, I just take that bolly off. I like to put a bolly on to kind of show the stretch points of the market. But I'm more interested in the levels and the motion of the market itself. Now, if we push this out to a 4-hour, you can see it's had a wonderful drive up, and now it's having a colossal drop down. And that drop looks like it's going to go to full retracement. So I'm paying close attention to what's going on. So from this point down to here, I'm only looking for 50, 60 quid. You know, it's not a lot. Take it to the hourly just so I can have a little bit more. You can see that's coming in now. It's about 6 minutes past 10. So for this next hour, I'm looking to get in, and it looks like this is the level that I'm after. So let me run the trade, and I'll see what's going on. It may come back up on itself, roll over, and then down, but we shall see. Okay, guys, job done. So what's happened? A little bit of patience. Put targets in necessary for what I was after. Now that's a big thing, and I'll touch on that in just a second. And it has now topped up exactly what I wanted. So from there, if you top them up, that's more than my 200 quid. You know, so where are we at? 70, 130, 135, 40, 50, 150, 205. 231, 264. It's all right for morning's work, and it's shade after 10:30. I can live with that. Good stuff. So why am I touching on know what you want before you get in? Well, actually, it's coming back to a vague conversation that was happening here this morning. Talking about rags and riches. And within it, they're looking at sort of how big an account should be, what you should look to earn, all that sort of stuff. And I started showing them a little bit about Morningstar. Now, I kind of update this with you guys once a month or so. And again, I was kind of pulled on this, saying, well, it's a waste of time because the figures are small. That's where people are falling down with trading. They're looking to get way too much out of it too quickly. Now, I opened this up in March. If you go through it, you'll see it. Kind of tells you there, it started with 350. Then in April, it started with 391. And it's just slow growth because it's pennies, you know. But I spend less than 20 minutes, half an hour on this a day. It's the first job I do on a morning. When I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll have a look at it. If there's something there, I'll put a pending order in, let it play out. That's it. If there's nothing there, I'll leave it alone. And it's just steady away. It holds the win rate. It's paying me. Got me 64 quid last month. I didn't take anything in April, but it's on to pay me this month. And as you can see, it's starting to grow with a decent equity curve. Why? Because I know what I want. And I definitely want it from it. Okay. Now, with trading, as you've just seen, I have a benchmark of 200 quid. All right. So I know I want 200 quid. So that's the first thing I'm looking at. How I get there is irrelevant. You know, it's a benchmark. All right. Now, if I don't get the 200 quid, it's not the end of the world. Because like I say, it's a benchmark. It's just something you're working towards. If I smash through it, which I often do, I can do 300 quid a day, 500 quid a day, and go up to £1,000 a day. You know, because the conditions are right and blah, blah, blah. And you go with the trade. I'm not worried. I'm trying to explain this in a way that kind of makes sense. If you have benchmarks, you have something to work towards. Once you've passed your benchmark, if you're going at it time and time again, you're probably erring on the side of gambling rather than planning. And I think gambling is the worst thing you can do because it is an emotional roller coaster we're going through. And gambling will enhance that immensely. So what I suggest is just set simple goals each day. That'll help you map your chart out. But have your goal in relation to your account size. Because when I look at sort of some of the guys who message me, and I get messaged all the time, and this is from you guys in the public and the Discord group that I run, and there's a similar theme runs through it all, and it's a case of how do I turn a small amount into a massive amount? Well, it ain't going to be quick, you know, because I always tell them the same thing. It's small steady steps every day. Now if you're only earning 10 quid a day or even a fiver a day, it's a little step. But every time you make a little step, it means the next step you do the day after can be that little bit bigger. Not much, just a fraction, but a little bit. And then it builds up. Now I expect Morningstar, well, it's virtually at its target now, and it's taken it 3 months to double the account. Well, it's actually already done it because I've already taken money out. But what I'm driving at with it is it took it 3 months of slow growth. Now, over the next 3 months, it'll grow again. And every time it grows, that pot is that little bit bigger, which means the money I get out of it each month is that little bit bigger. I hope that genuinely makes sense. I guess what I'm trying to do is just tell you to keep it realistic. If you think 200 quid is going to be a million, well, it might be. Just not this year. Because your 200 quid has to get to 1,000. Your 1,000 has to get to 10,000. Then your 10,000 has to get to 100,000, and your 100,000 has to get to a million. It takes a long time, guys. It's not quick. So there you are. Today was put my money where my mouth was, and just showing you a little bit of the sheet. I was also showing you, I guess, the journal that I keep, because I keep that journal all the time. And if you want me to keep seeing it and see the progress, and I'll drop it into little videos like this rather than once a month, just drop in the comments, and I'll quite happily do that. Because I'm trying to get the channel where, one, it's interesting, but also inspiring. That's its whole goal, is to inspire you. You know, trading ain't that difficult, guys. Not really. You are difficult. That's what makes it hard. You know, I can show you 101 different ways to trade, and every single one of them will work. The problem is, most people think that it's a magic pill and it's going to be the road to riches. It's not. You have to make that decision and be sensible. That's why a lot of businesses fail. It's never planned. It's just sort of, I think I'm going to do this, instead of planning to do this. Something for you to think about. Drop it in the comments, or by all means go in the description. You'll find all my contact details, etc. And I'm always about, and I never ignore anybody. I always answer, unlike some of the others, because I emailed God knows how many other different YouTube traders. None of them get back to me, not one. Funny enough, if I say I want to buy the course, they do. But otherwise, they just ignore you. Says a little bit about character, doesn't it? So, as always, guys, trade well, keep your risk managed, but above all, do what you love, and the money will follow. See you all on the next one.